Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@usaprepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Docked, locked, blissed. There we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. Thank you for being in class with us. Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes. It's hard to do these days, but I am.
Oh, wow. You're not kidding. Class, for the first part of this broadcast, I'll be using a telephone. The network connection is down. It's not CenturyLink this time. It's something else. And so our engineer is feverishly working to fix that. Yes, it is hard to be blissed lately, Dr. Shealy. Do you have anything that you'd like to share with us that is high on your list?
Well, to me, the most positive thing I can think of is my research on telomeres. And I have to say I am excited about it.
Well,
We've been working.
I got your email about that, and Mrs. Finelli and I are excited as well. So you want to put us in the yes column, please do so.
Well, I hope so. And anybody else who's interested in this area can come in to be in the research project at no cost, of course. That gives you a chance to get your telomeres measured as to where you are and participate in a 6-month research project where we are applying about 1-inch little tiny patches at specific acupuncture points. In the pilot study, we got an 8% growth of telomeres in just 6 months. Now, I've been working on this since 2006 with other ways, and the best we've ever done is 3.5% a year. So we're doing better than twice our usual rate so far, and we're over half filled with a research project. But now is the time if you want to get involved, and you know it's safe. It's simple, and in today's world, you need everything you can to improve your health.
I totally agree. Dr. Shealy, so how would you, if we have interest in our broadcast classroom, to be involved with your study, how would you like our class to contact you?
Well, just contact the registration desk and say, I want to be in the research project on telomeres.
Okay.
Just telomere research and get signed up. 417-351-5221.
Okay. And class, you'll be joining me and Mrs. Finelli in that study with Dr. Norm Shealy. So, Dr. Shealy, there's a patch that we're going to be wearing, and can you share with us what is the contents of that patch?
It is some mixture of amino acids. This is made by a company called LifeWave. I've been working with their products for at least 12 years. They are excellent. I mean, I've done projects with their insomnia package, and I've done projects with their pain relief package. And it's very safe and very effective and so simple.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and it's a 6-month study. And when we apply these patches, where do they go? How long do they stay on? How often do we change them and so forth?
Okay, you change them once a day. They need to stay on at least 12 hours, but can stay on up to 24. Now, I'm not in the research project because I can't, but I'm doing the patches because I like it already.
Uh-huh.
And there are 2 ways of applying it. Either at the bottom of the neck, the very last, where you get the big bump at the bottom of the cervical spine,
okay,
one day, and the next day with that particular patch, you put it just below the belly button. And there's another one where you put it on the front or the back of the wrist. Both of them seem to be working. We're even doing where you do both, 2 patches a day, one on the spine, and one on the wrist, and one below the belly button, and one on the other side of the wrist, because we want to, get the optimal long-term benefit. And by doing it this way with 60 people, and there is a double blind. 1/4 of the people will get placebo, but after the 6 months, they'll get the real thing. So everybody will get the real thing.
Okay. And is there any concern about complications with any other maladies a person might have? Let's say heart disease, diabetes, overweight.
Okay. The exclusion is you have to be between 45 and 82 years of age and taking no prescription drugs. Now, I don't consider thyroid a prescription drug, and I don't consider hormone replacement a prescription drug. But because, all the prescription drugs for any kind of illness carry their own so-called side effects or complications, we don't want people on those in the study because then we wouldn't know whether it was something we were doing or the drug.
Okay. So, class, if you're interested, you may call 417-351-5221 in Springfield, Missouri Central Time Zone during normal business hours, 417-351-5221. Okay. What else would you like to share with us, Dr. Shealy?
Well, there's all kinds of news coming out about this business in China. And FaceBack, as you may know, I consider Facebook the greatest drivel that was ever introduced in the world. But FaceBack, I'm calling it now, because FaceBack has put out a statement stating that intravenous vitamin C is no good, as if they know anything about anything.
Yeah. Well, I
consider that man. I hate to say it, but I hope he gets the virus and he can't get any vitamin C.
You're talking about Zuckerberg? Is that who you're talking about? Mark Zuckerberg? Who are you speaking about?
He's Zuckerberg.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I don't trust the man to tell me the time of day.
Mark Zuckerberg is allegedly a Harvard student, and he has been at the tip of the spear of spying on people. He wants to know what your children are doing. He wants to know what you're doing, but he wants to build a wall around his property, and he wants to buy other properties so that you can't, from those properties, see what he's doing at his place. That is the kind of creepiness that this guy is. He is the equivalent of the billboard person.
For the Committee of 300.
I'm thinking, yes, yes, but he's also so creepy, he would be the billboard poster person for the Peeping Tom industry. I mean, he's the kind of guy that wants to look in your bathroom window, figuratively. He wants all kinds of images of your lifestyle and what you do and where you go and whom you associate. Those kinds of things. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And he's proud of it. And the problem is he is in bed with the current president's administration. He's in bed with them, which is a really dangerous thing for the rest of us, to have Mark Zuckerberg being endorsed and supported and condoned by the current administration.
Well, I'm sure all administrations would go to bed with that blank.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Shealy, in Italy right now, there are 12 cities under lockdown because the Italians in those cities do not want to be invaded by this virus. And this is extremely serious. So in northern Italy, where about 50,000 people so far have been placed under lockdown. Public schools have been shut. Public events are banned in this, we'll call it a serious lockdown to contain the virus. And it seems that there's no real stopping it. They just want to keep it from spreading faster. And that's what's happening in Italy right now. I think that's a great move. I'm all for it. I'm not interested in going to a Mardi Gras type of event where crazy people are doing crazy things in a tight space. I don't want to do that. So Italy, I applaud these mayors, if you will, in Italy for taking these drastic actions. Do you have any thoughts about that, Dr. Shealy?
Well, interestingly, the 4 reincarnated St. Francis companions were planning on going to Italy to Assisi the 31st of May, but we're putting it on hold until we see what happens by April 15th. But it looks as if we will not be going this year.
Well, I'm sorry that you won't be going, but I think that's a very wise choice. And the coronavirus, those who have been on these cruise ships, I mean, beyond crazy in my world to get on a cruise ship, because one person could infect the entire ship and then not being able to get off the ship. There are people who were going stir crazy being on the ship, demanding their release. And I think that their pressure and the media pressure got some people out of quarantine that should not have been released. And President Donald Trump is furious that we would allow people to come into this country who have been exposed to the coronavirus. Now, those are, his sentiments, and I applaud him for feeling that way. But we've got to stop people from coming into this country who can bring it into this country. At least, in that's how I feel. And if they don't like it, that's just tough. That's what are your feelings about that?
Well, of course, I think we should close immigration totally. Right now, I mean, I think we should close all international travel.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
And in fact, I'm not going to, at the moment, I'm not accepting any new commitments even after June of this year until I see what's happening by May.
So, Dr. Shealy, what we're discussing is what other people are feeling as well. Restricted travel. We have friends who like to travel and they like to go to events and hop on airplanes. And I have to figure out exactly how I'm going to tell all of these people. Yeah, I think that's wonderful that you're traveling, and I think it's wonderful that you're in denial that this is serious, and you're willing to risk your lives and your family's lives, but your behavior is not going to risk the lives of my family. So for the next while, we're not allowing visitors here at the farm who travel. We're just not going to do it because we don't know who they come in contact with. It's as simple as that. Do you have similar concerns or similar plans
Absolutely.
in your world, Dr. Shealy?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to begin. I mean, Wall Street is a perfect example. It's off over 3%, I think, already today.
Oh, yeah. Wall Street is down significantly, and they're down significantly because now the concern has caught on worldwide, and I can give the class some reports as to where this is infected. We come back. We're on the telephone today because high-speed digital is not working properly, and we're working feverishly to fix it. Dr. Shealy and I will be right back after these few short commercial announcements.
We are back, and looks like everything's working from my end. All the screens look great. Okay, Dr. Shealy, we were talking about the coronavirus, and we're talking about the potential for infection. I was talking with a UPS driver, and he's the first package delivery guy that I've met in the last 3 weeks who is actually concerned about the coronavirus and the transmission of it. Because I've talked to other UPS drivers and Federal Express drivers and mail carriers and so forth, and it doesn't seem like anyone else is concerned, but this guy is. And I said, so what do you think? Are you concerned? And he said, anyone, this is his quote, anyone who isn't concerned is an idiot. So, wow.
That's an understatement, yes.
Yeah, and so I explained to him that I was in total agreement with him. I saw this morning a story out of Hong Kong, and there is a line of 1,000 people waiting to buy face masks from a supermarket. 1,000 people long. And I believe it's 1,000 people long because it was like a quarter of a mile long, literally. And that's to go into one store. So that wasn't a line that was going to fan out and go into many stores. That's to go into one store. So you have to applaud those in Hong Kong who are polite and they're not fighting over masks as we probably would as if, Black Friday sale on masks. But they were polite and they're waiting in line. And if you look at the subways, the trains, they are not as packed as they used to be. Store shelves are empty for many foodstuffs in supermarkets. And class, if you think that it might come here bigger than it is now, because I've heard and read that there are 700 infected people in the United States right now, that's not making the news. That hasn't made the news. But those are the numbers that I'm reading. If you believe that, then why don't you get what you need right now before the rest of the GDP figures out what's going on? Because when they figure it out, it's going to be a mad dash for whatever you wanted to buy. Dr. Shealy, are you in the same camp? Get it now.
Absolutely. All the way, Big Blue.
Okay. So what would that be? Well, that would be cans. Now, what can you store? Well, the easiest, least expensive thing, of course, is going to be baked beans. It's going to have some protein, but it's going to have some sugar in there too. But it'll keep for years, several years, maybe 3, 4, 5 years. And you've got to watch the can lids to see if they're bulging, after a while, see if they're still good. But at 50 cents a can, it's crazy not to buy a few cases. How many are in a case? Maybe 12. And if you think about it, here's the math. Actually, I'll give you the math when we come back on how to calculate how much you're going to consume. And frankly, I don't think you're going to believe the consumption rate. We're here with Dr. Shealy, and we'll be talking about the coronavirus and other medical issues when we come back. Class, Dr. Norm Shealy's with us, medical doctor, researcher, author, farmer, Native American medicine man, surgeon of the year, medical practitioner. Did I say brain surgeon? And more. And we're discussing the coronavirus, and I thought I'd share with you some thoughts about survival provisions. And I'd like to get Dr. Shealy's opinion. And I know he does not like the thought of wheat, but in an emergency situation, Dr. Shealy, on a limited budget, here's what I'm proposing, and I'd love to hear your comments. So, class, let's say there are 4 people in your family, and you decide that you're going to buy some baked beans. Now, you can buy them at Aldi for about 49 cents a can plus tax. So I'm going to just, to make it easy, I'm going to say 50 cents a can. So if there are 4 people in your family and you have 1 can each for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that's 3 cans per day per person times 4 people is 12 cans. That's a case of baked beans every day. So if you have, there's 7 days in a week, so you would eat 7 cases per week, 30 cases per month. At 50 cents a can, a case is $6. 30 days worth is 30 days times $6, $180 plus tax for 30 days worth. What I'm suggesting you do is consider this. Now, this is going to be absolutely no fun, but it's way better than being hungry and starving. So you could substitute, a can of corn, a can of green beans, with the can of baked beans. So you might want to have a can of corn for one of those meals a day, a can of green beans for one of those meals a day, and a can of baked beans for one of those meals, or a third of a can of each per meal. And roughly the same cost for corn and green beans as baked beans at Aldi, 49 cents. You can get some pasta Pasta is, now this is with wheat, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. 2 pounds for $1.39, or 70 cents a pound for pasta. Now we're talking about preparedness here. We're not talking about great food for being healthy, but we are talking about inexpensive, slightly long-term storage food. Dry pasta. Oh, you can call it thin spaghetti, you can call it vermicelli, you can call it whatever kind of pasta you want. And there's 24-ounce jars of sauce, and it has sugar in it, and it's going to cost you about $1 a jar for 24 ounces. Dr. Shealy, for emergency preparations, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I would certainly include two other things: dried egg white powder and whey protein isolate or concentrate, because protein-wise, they are superb.
Dried egg white powder, and what was the other one?
Whey, W-H-E-Y, whey protein concentrate or isolate. They're the same, pretty much.
Okay, whey protein.
Much better
isolate.
quality protein than anything else.
Okay, and why don't we throw in some powdered milk?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if we have just those things, and we're saying this is a real frugal budget to get through, a month, can we put aside our concerns about glyphosate and the dangers of wheat? Can we do it for a month, Dr. Shealy?
Yeah, actually you can buy gluten-free pasta too.
Right. That's what I made last night
which I would prefer. But, in a crisis situation, you don't do ordinary common sense. You can't.
Right. So, class, that's the minimum essential. And, of course, you're going to need your vitamins, minerals, and supplements. And I'm going to suggest that you get Dr. Shealy's Youth Formula as your vitamin C plus MSM, and, of course, Dr. Shealy's Essentials, which is the multivitamin. And, of course, you're going to need some astaxanthin and some D3, vitamin D3. I guess, Dr. Shealy, did we hit the minimum that we've got to get through this? Or is there something else we'd want to add?
Well, I do think I would also have some extra beta-glucan.
Okay. How do we get that?
Well, we carry it. Now Products makes a nice one, and it's just another enhancer of immune function.
Okay.
And I would also suggest some coconut oil.
Okay. And what do we use the coconut oil for?
Well, you need some fat in your diet, and the beans are fairly low in fat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I would say a tablespoon or two a day of coconut oil would be an excellent adjunct.
Okay. What I have been doing is I keep a bottle of avocado oil.
That's good too.
On the kitchen counter, and since we use our own beef, which is 95.5, meaning 5% fat, there's no, when you make spaghetti sauce and you put meat in there and you brown meat, there's usually some oils on the top. Well, not with our cows, and because they're just grass fed, they're not grained, and so I add avocado oil to the spaghetti sauce, if you will, and I really like it. So, but I think you can add olive oil just as well. And would they be considered substitutes, Dr. Shealy, in terms of the health benefits? Avocado oil versus
yes. Avocado oil is excellent.
Okay, or avocado or olive oil, extra virgin olive oil.
Yeah,
okay.
Virgin olive oil.
Okay. All right. And Dr. Shealy, here's what we've been doing, and I had a question about this because I don't know the answer. I've never heard it discussed. Eggs. So we have some cinnamon queen chickens here, and they lay eggs, and we love them. They're nice, they're pleasant, they're friendly, and they lay eggs. But we're thinking about getting some Rhode Island wrens as well, and we're expanding our chicken houses. So we will have 2 by tomorrow, and we've been working all weekend on expanding our chicken pens and houses, if you will. Do you think there's a difference in the quality or the health benefits of eggs from different kinds of chickens? For example, the Rhode Island Red versus some of the hybrid chickens like the Cinnamon Queens and the others. Is there a difference?
I don't know. I have seen no scientific studies showing a quality difference.
No, I haven't either. I have not found anything that through my research to say that one bird is better than another, one breed of chicken is better than another for the quality of the eggs. Okay. That was one of the questions that I had. Let's see. What are your thoughts about self-quarantining, Dr. Shealy, as the Finelli family is trying to do and Captain John Reagan is trying to do as well?
Well, if you can do it, not coming in contact with other people certainly is protective. I don't know how practical it is if people have to make a living other than living on their own farm.
Yeah. Do you envision doctors, nurses, medical professionals self-quarantining and saying, you know what, I'm not going to work today. Probably not the rest of the week, maybe from now on, actually.
I would think most physicians and nurses would not do that.
They would not. They would still go to work.
Yes.
Okay. Is that any way associated with the Hippocratic Oath? Or is that not?
Well, I think in general, most people who go into medicine are dedicated to helping people get well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think most of us would still work.
Okay. I've read that the Samsung factory that produces smartphones in South Korea has shut down. And they are expecting to reopen in a couple of days, but they may not. They are shut down because of the coronavirus. Hyundai and Kia have shut down because of the coronavirus. And we are seeing exactly what we've been talking about for a couple of weeks. It's now making the news that the supply chain is impacted and that Americans had no idea how dependent we are on parts and full assemblies from China.
Including the makings of most drugs, apparently.
That's correct. That's correct.
Of course, that might be a boon from my point of view.
Yeah. Well, it's exactly what President Trump, I believe, has been trying to do, getting manufacturing back here in the United States. But it was so easy for us to ship our manufacturing efforts to China and then pay them a fraction of what it would cost to make the goods here and have them shipped here. So we don't have the fuss, the muss, the air pollution. We'll just leave all that over there, and we'll just get those Nike sneakers and those cheap Chinese products and those overpackaged products. But here's what, heck, we don't even have our own customer service anymore. I was absolutely livid. I bought a television, and I want to warn our class about this. I decided to buy a television that I could hook up to my computer so that I could watch videos at a distance. Okay? So I bought a television made by Hitachi, bought it at Sam's Club, and I thought, I want to buy a television that is not a smart television, one that's not going to look at me while I look at it, one that will not listen to me in the room, one that will not report back on my activities. So I found one that was made by Hitachi that Sam's Club sold. And it was horrible, absolutely horrible. The image was distorted, and it had manufacturing defects, and so I took that back. So I bought another television made by RCA, and another non-smart television. And I plugged in the audio so I could drive my stereo from the television so I could have better sound, because these flat panel televisions have lousy speaker systems. So I plugged it in and I used the remote, and the remote would not work with the audio, would not turn up or down the audio. And what it would do is just give me a message telling me that the remote will not work. So the screen's saying, no, it won't work. What are you trying to do? Forget it. It's not going to work. So I called the 800 number for customer service for RCA. And they told me that they needed the make and model, which that sounds reasonable. And they needed my email address because they only help via email. We'll be right back. So, class, what I'm trying to tell you about these two televisions is that it's very difficult to get customer service. It's very difficult to get products that actually work properly. And right now and in the foreseeable future, we are going to have fewer and fewer outlets for technical support. So in the manual for this particular RCA television, there was no discussion that says if you plug in a cable for the audio output, it will stop the remote from working. Nowhere does it say that. And you can't talk to anybody because the people whom you talk to are just there to get your telephone number and your for the registration purposes and get your email, and that's the only way you can talk to technical support. What I'm telling you is it's getting worse, way worse. So I just said, I'll tell you what, never mind, I'll just return the television. And they said, okay. I couldn't believe they said okay. They didn't say, whoa, how can we help you? So Mrs. Finelli called the same number, got a different person in the Philippines, and they couldn't help her either. And so she said, no, that's okay, we'll just return the television. And they said, okay. So the people who are customer service don't care about the sale. They don't care about the customer. And the only way that RCA is willing to help you is via email. Now think about that. So you send them an email and you say, I've got a problem with my TV. Then they send you an email and they say, what's the problem? Then you tell them what the problem is and they say, oh, try this. And then you send them an email and say, no, it really didn't work. Now how long does that go on before you punch a hole in the television? So just one more reason why people are extremely frustrated. Dr. Shealy, so there's a report on the Internet, Investment Watch, that says 7,000 plus in U.S. Under coronavirus quarantine. That was February 22nd. That did not make the news, did it?
Of course not.
7,000 in the United States.
The news is only stuff the idiot state media want you to hear. They don't want you to hear any facts. Just propaganda.
So in my travels, in the last 3 weeks, I have only met, and we're talking about, I'm not talking about you, Dr. Shealy, as a medical professional, but I'm talking about other medical professionals whom I've chatted with. No one seems to be concerned about the coronavirus in the United States. And I guess that's because ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN haven't said, oh, by the way, it's here. That must be why. But I'm stunned, absolutely stunned, that people are not concerned. I've only met a few people, maybe 2 or 3 at the most, outside of USA Prepares, instructors or class, who are concerned. 2 or 3. Actually, it's 2. At 2. That's hard to understand from my perspective. So 7,000 under quarantine in the United States. So what I've also uncovered is there's a story on Zero Hedge and it says, headline, China's fake coronavirus numbers exposed. Doctor in Hunan, China, confirms 50 new cases, only 1 reported. So that's the numbers are 1/50th of what's really happening according to this doctor. So it's way worse. So I'm trying to think of other solutions to this problem. I don't want to be part of the problem. I don't want to be impacted by the problem. I want to stay away from the problem. And that's one of the reasons why we live in the middle of nowhere, because we don't want to be around people for the most part. We have, friends like Dr. Shealy and some others, but I don't want to be around the GDP. I frankly don't. Any other thoughts, Dr. Shealy, as what we should do other than the supplements that you've talked about for weeks now? The vitamin C and the astaxanthin? And
no, I think we've covered that. Now, of course, in this area, as long as we are able to function, we are giving both intravenous ozone and intravenous vitamin C, which are two of the greatest immune boosters in history.
Did you say intravenous ozone? Intravenous ozone, or do you mean
ozone?
How is ozone delivered intravenously? How does that work?
The first dose you take out, I think it's about 100 cc's of blood, and mix it with ozone and put it back through an ultraviolet light into the blood. After that, you could take 300 cc's and fill it with ozone and put it through ultraviolet light back into the bloodstream. We're using it for cancer. We use it for infections.
That sounds like a fabulous treatment plan, because doesn't ozone kill most pathogens in the body?
Yes, viruses and bacteria.
And that's something, I haven't heard that or read that in the mainstream media. Well, I don't really read much in the mainstream media, but I haven't read IV ozone. Huh. So,
you're talking to one of the leading places in the country.
Okay. Well, that's why we haven't heard of it outside of right here with Dr. Shealy. Dr. Shealy, we've got David on hold. We'll be right back. Everyone all set? Cocked, locked, blissed. Hour number 2 of USA Prepares with Dr. Norm Shealy. David is with us in Illinois. Welcome, David.
How you doing? I hear you have internet problems again today.
Well, it wasn't. Today we can't blame it on CenturyLink or CenturyTel. This was actually, and nobody could believe it in the family. I went into the kitchen during the break and I said, "Well, it wasn't us this time," and it was a hardware failure with the digital communications piece at GCN. So we reprogrammed our unit here with Jason's help to connect to another piece of equipment at GCN, and we got it running. So and that's another thing. So where do all these parts come from? That is going to China.
Yeah,
that's where the replacement parts are going to come from to fix the broken piece at GCN side this time. And to keep our and just as an aside class, here's what I've been doing for years, and I suggest you consider doing the same. So if you have a television or a monitor or a computer and you just hit that little soft touch button that shuts it, powers down that monitor or television or whatever it is, it's not off. It's just sort of off, maybe 99% off, but 1% on. So what I have is a surge protector or a power strip attached to every single piece of equipment here at the farmhouse. And when I want to power it down, I push the switch to the off position for the power strip or the surge protector, and it's off. So what that means is I'm not wearing out the power supply and the associated capacitors and other components in those devices because they're literally off. They're not connected to an electrical source because the power strip shuts off the electricity to the monitors and the computers and the stereo and everything else. So I suggest you consider doing that. We can talk more about that on Friday. I'll be talking about my book on Friday. David, you had some thoughts.
Yeah, I had to try to watch you on Friday because I'll make a comment about that, what you just mentioned right there. It's a great idea. It saved you a lot of electricity. Amazing. Mm-hmm. But now you were bringing up pasta earlier. I in buying supplies, I listened to your quite a while ago when Gwyneth brought up powdered products and milk, and I totally forgot that they had that. And Dr. Shealy recommended the whey proteins. I've been purchasing that every time I'm out, so I have shelves of this stuff, and it's a great thing to do. But I tried some of the other pastas at your Chinese factory outlet because they were all being purchased. I guess the shelves are going empty. So normally I do the gluten-free stuff for D first, I make sure I have plenty of supplies for her first. So I tried some of the other stuff. I recommend people try it when they get it if they never have. I've tried that. I don't know what it was, if it was because it was the last in the bunch. But I tried a couple boxes, and I felt like I had food poisoning.
You tried a couple of boxes of what?
Protein. Pasta. Pasta. And it was the last ones of the box, the last ones on the shelf, so I had to reach back. So it could have been there for a while, and I grabbed a bunch of it. Because honestly, if you're doing on a budget, gluten-free pasta is quite a bit more expensive than standard pasta. But like I said, I don't care about the cost when it comes to her. She definitely cannot have those products. So for me, I don't care. So I figured, okay, I'm going to back up this. I can get a lot more. For me, doesn't matter. So I tried some, and I'm the one that wants to see if, okay, is it just this box or was it just something I contacted with? So I tried it again, and I tried it one more time. Couldn't deal with that no more.
David, I have a comment, and I'd like to hear Dr. Shealy's thoughts on this. Okay, so public school systems, several times during the year, they will spray insecticide in the classrooms, aerosolize it for lice and bugs that the children bring in. Okay, and so sometimes the children will come in with short sleeves or sleeveless tops for the girls in the warm weather, and they'll rub their arms on the desks, which have received this mist of insecticide, and there will be violent reactions. That's one thing. So if you carry that thought over to what you're talking about, and if you got the last box might have been the last box for a couple of months. It might have been back there. We don't really know at this point. So if that's the case, and the stores have some kind of an insecticide spraying that you don't even know about, maybe your box got 1, 2, 3, 4 doses, and maybe you got the extra amount of insecticide in the last box. So what I try to do is I try to get the boxes out of the middle if I'm just going to buy 1 or 2 boxes. Otherwise, we buy the whole case, and I try to buy sealed cases. So, and the freshest. And I look at the dates. And if I buy jars of anything, I look at the dates, because sometimes the ones out front, if they load from the back, sometimes the ones out front are the oldest. And if I have a choice between the oldest and newest, I probably want the newest. The one that has the longest expiration date, farther out. So those are a couple of thoughts. Dr. Shealy, have you had an experience?
An extremely important thing. And although we know, I have been told, that with most supplements, they're good for maybe a year or two beyond the expiration date. Officially, they are safe. My big question with canned foods and packaged foods is, how long are they good beyond the expiration date? I don't know.
I can give you a rule of thumb. We have experimented with it. In jars, pasta sauce, if it does not have meat and it does not have cheese, just a plain old tomato pasta sauce, will probably keep 4, possibly 5 years. If you keep it dark and if you keep it at relatively the same temperature. So if you have a basement and you have a little room in your basement that stays about the same temperature, it will last longer than if the temperature increases and decreases. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing is pasta sauce in cans, tomato products, because of the acidity, it will eat the liner of the can. So it will not last as long in a can as it will in a glass jar. Now, the glass jars are being replaced with plastic. I don't know the answer as to how long these plastic jars will last as compared to the glass jars. But 4 or 5 years for pasta sauce. So if you buy it today, it should last 4 or 5 years if it is in glass.
Now, I make my own pasta sauce and can it myself, and I have frequently used 8-year-old canned pasta sauce, bell peppers and things, and tomato sauce, that sort of thing. Once I've canned it at home and keep it in my basement, I know it's still good at least 8 years later.
That's correct. I believe that's correct, because we have, and I've experimented with this. So I've got popcorn packed in nitrogen, 20 years. It's still good. I know that pasta sauce, commercial pasta sauce from 2013 is right on the edge. It's right on the edge of not being good. 2015, sort of on the edge. Newer than that is fine. And I found out that you can keep pasta in the original box, with the little plastic window on the box so you can see the kind of pasta that's in there. 5 years. 5 years in just the original container, not packed with anything. If you have it in a dehumidified area and if the temperature is relatively constant and cool and dark. And that was a surprise to me. I didn't think that it would keep that long. So, products, cans with tomato ingredients will not keep as long as if they don't have tomato ingredients. Now, I've been told that coffee will not keep very long. I can say that is absolutely not the case. It will keep years, because I just opened a can of coffee that was packed in 2013 as an experiment just recently, and it was in a steel can with one of those aluminum type peel away lids, and it still had the vacuum, and it tastes just as good as I would have expected it to be. Didn't smell bad, didn't look bad, didn't have any hairy growth on it. It was perfect. So,
hairy growth.
Now,
David, your thoughts?
Now that I'll mention about the coffee in a minute, but the pasta, I never thought about it being maybe some of these people now don't know how to rotate when they're restocking shelves. I didn't consider that or something being on it because, like I said, I tried the other boxes, so I didn't just rely on one box being something wrong with it. In each one, I did my research on 3 boxes. That was enough for me.
David, here's what I do.
Yes.
So we have when we buy the cases, and we typically buy a case at a time, at least. And so let's say it's baked beans, we will take a Sharpie marker and we'll write 2020 on it. Okay, that is when we bought it. Now it's also marked on the cans or the jars or whatever it happens to be, but we will write 2020 on it. And when we buy the can, if we go to Aldi, we will get an extra lid for that case. So we keep an extra lid on there to keep the dust off. Okay, and you can easily stack case on top of case on top of case with whatever you have. But you're right, you need to, when you buy, get the farthest out, best used by date, and keep them cool and dry and mark when you bought them so that you have a rough idea of how old they are. And then you need to rotate your stock. Take the oldest out first. And check every single can for pressure. If it has pressure in it, don't eat it. Okay, you want to hear the vacuum when you open that can. Please continue.
Yes, I when I was 12, I worked in the grocery store, and they taught me I was surprised that stuff didn't come prepackaged, pre-made. It was very educational for me back then. Now, I just bought some coffee, but I couldn't find any in the metal containers. They were just in the plastic. And I wanted to see when I broke that seal, like you were explaining about, nothing. There was no air pressure, no nothing. So I suggest if you can find it in a metal can, you're better off, or glass. I mean, with your other products, glass or metal.
Here's what you do, class. So you want to find a steel can. Now, some cans look like they're steel, but if you squeeze them a little bit, you'll find out they crush because they're made out of cardboard with an aluminized inner liner. So that's not going to work too well. So what you really want to do is find a steel can. So you look at the bottom of the can, and you'll see if it's steel. If it is, you'll feel the sides, and if it won't crush, it probably is steel. And then you peel off that plastic lid, the resealable lid, and you see if there is a concave shape to it. If there is, there's a vacuum there. That's what you want. Now, it's getting harder to find all steel cans. There is one company that packages it. It's called Farmer's Coffee, and it has the name Caine, C-A-I-N-E or C-A-I-N-S, one of those two spellings. And that's all steel, and that's available at Sam's Club. We'll be right back. Dr. Norm Shealy is with us. In class, if you'd like to contact Dr. Shealy's office in Springfield, Missouri, that number is 417-351-5221, 417-351-5221, and normshealy.com on the internet, normshealy, SHEALY.com, and that's where you can get your vitamins and minerals and supplements, and get them online and shipped directly to you. Dr. Shealy and David. David, do you have any other questions for Dr. Shealy?
I had one a minute ago, but now one other question real quick before I'll let you go. Somebody else maybe will want to talk. Too bad you didn't live closer. You needed a LCD. I still have a 37-inch LCD monitor. It is not a tuner in it, and it is. I bought it when I was doing computer work before. When I got the word they were putting cameras and everything from my dad. Mm-hmm. So it's been sitting on the shelf. Probably had 20 hours of work use in it. It's got every connector you can possibly have, and you could split the screens and everything. Wow. If you live closer, I'd have gave it to you.
Well, I appreciate that. I would have bought it from you, but I've got one now. I had a question for Dr. Shealy about, I heard a commercial, and it said drug addiction is a disease. Dr. Shealy, is drug addiction a disease?
Well, of course. I mean, it's no different from depression and anxiety. I mean, those are the prime reason that people get drug addicted is, and that's most often mood drugs or opioids, is depression and anxiety. And that is definitely a disease.
Okay. How about this, Dr. Shealy? Do you have a favorite breed of chicken that you like to raise, or do you have several?
Well, I like the Rhode Island Reds personally.
Okay.
I don't know why. I like brown eggs, I guess, among others.
And that was another question that I had. So when we first, we were like most people back in the 70s. We thought eggs were white, and we thought yolks were like a light yellow. And once we started raising chickens, it's got to be 30 years ago, we noticed that eggs come out brown. And brown eggs, I mean, some people look at them and go, no way, absolutely no way am I going to have a brown egg, because they've been conned or convinced into believing that eggs are white. And so we started eating these brown eggs. And when you crack a brown egg, the yolk is darker, way darker than with one of these anemic-looking white egg yolks. Dr. Shealy, is there a difference between your Rhode Island Red eggs, our Rhode Island Red eggs, that are brown in color and have darker yolks? Is there a health benefit to a brown egg? I
believe there is. Now, again, I have no scientific proof of that, but I'm going to look it up.
Okay, next question, Dr. Shealy. What is your preferred method of cooking an egg or eating egg? What do you, so if you've got a dozen eggs from your chickens and you're going to have one, let's say, for breakfast, what do you do with it?
Well, I like it sunny side up. Mm-hmm. I like it coddled or soft-boiled. All of those in which you don't actually, get the yolk totally hardened.
Okay. I'm not quite there yet. So what I do is I take a round cast iron skillet, and this has a rim probably 1/4 of an inch high. So it's almost a flat piece of cast iron with a handle. It's maybe 50 to 100 years old. And I put some avocado oil on there, and I heat it gently, and I take an egg, and I add some milk to it, and I stir it up to make the milk uniform with the egg and the yolk, and then I pour it onto the warm skillet, and then I make sure it covers the entire skillet, and the skillet must be about 10 inches across. And so it's really thin. It's about, I don't know, maybe 1/16 of an inch thick, and put a little pepper on there when it's done, and that's what I do. Do you think maybe I'm cooking that too much?
I doubt it. I don't know. I do believe that the fat of the egg is somewhat healthier when it's not cooked hard.
Okay. We'll be right back. That's Dr. Norman Shealy's with us. We've got Dean on hold the longest, and then Kyle. Welcome, Dean.
Hello, I'm on the air?
You are.
Yes.
Okay, yes, hello. I got a question for Dr. Shealy. I have consistent, over and over burping, and it goes away sometimes and it comes back, and it's very annoying.
And does it occur at any particular time of day?
No, it can be...
Is it worse after a meal?
No. I can wake up with it, just drink some water in the morning, and go to bed with it.
Well, something is not right in your stomach digestive system.
Yes.
I don't know unequivocally what it is, but it suggests that you are having difficulty with hydrochloric acid and or even pancreas enzymes.
Yes, I've been taking, I started taking digestive enzymes again.
And does that help at all?
Not really.
Right.
It seems like mostly helps. I don't know if certain foods I'm eating doing it or what. I mean, I probably got a hiatal hernia. Probably got that, and I probably swallow too much air, probably too, when I eat. I don't have very many molars. I'm missing some of my molars, but I probably don't chew well. So it could be some of the stuff I'm putting on my food, like curry, be causing problems too. I use a lot of curry powder on my eggs in the morning.
Curry shouldn't do it, but...
It's got a lot of turmeric in it. That's the reason I'm using it.
Right. Basically, I honestly believe you need an analysis of your gastric secretions.
I've had colonoscopies. I've had MRI, what do you call it? They couldn't really tell me.
You have to put a tube into the stomach to check the gas. You have to swallow a tube.
Yeah, I did that a while back. It's been a while.
And they said it was okay?
I believe so, yeah. That's because it's been several years. I'm in no hurry to have any of this stuff done again, especially colonoscopy.
Right.
No way again, yeah.
I would suggest you try, just for a while, limonene. Limonene is an extract of orange peel.
Mm-hmm.
It is excellent for heartburn, but I think it helps you digest your food better. And it's safe. So 500 milligrams of limonene, maybe 2 to 3 times a day. And if it makes a big difference, then that's worth continuing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I probably overeat, too. You know what I mean? I eat probably too much at one time. I eat all day long.
Well, then you must wait, in my opinion, a minimum of 4 hours between meals.
I know, but I just keep snacking all day long.
Well, stop
I'm
it.
not overweight. I was underweight for a while. I think I've gained some of my weight back, which I'm glad. I feel.
But eating frequently is going to interfere because your stomach doesn't have time to rest between meals.
Yeah, I've heard that on some of the programs I listen to too. So I just thought I'd mention that.
Minimum 4 hours. Minimum 4 hours. I'm playing a broken record.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so this limonene, is that something?
You can find it in any health food store or online. Limonene, Limonene.
So is it made from like limes and lemons? Is that how it's got its name?
Orange peel, as far as I know.
Yeah, that's what I meant, something in the citrus family. Okay, well, I appreciate it. Oh, and my favorite type of chicken is the bar rockers. They're gorgeous. Every little feather, when it goes together, if you would ruffle them, they go together, they form that beautiful pattern, and they are gorgeous. That's my favorite chicken.
Gene, I've got... before you go away, I have a question for you. You knew I was going to ask this, right?
About the sugar? No, don't you ask about?
Well, sugar is poison.
Yeah, I know. I don't use a lot of it, but still my sweets are my favorite things. But I do, when I make them, I do put a whole lot less. And I don't use the confined, we call it the white sugar. I use the organic brown sugar.
Kick it out of your house.
I know. But it's so addictive. Whatever.
Your name is Gene. Your name is Gene, right, with a J,
yes.
Or is it D?
J.
J, Gene. Okay. On the call screen, it says Dean. So I thought it was Gene. Okay, so Gene, the last time we talked, which was probably 3 months ago, we gave you some homework, and that homework was to cut out sugar and maybe some soda. Remember that?
I don't drink soda.
Okay, so it was just sugar.
My choice is water. I drink a whole lot of water every day.
So we talked about candy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are we doing?
It's about the same.
I'm going to have to, if I ever get called to testify, I'm going to have to come to your class on how to testify.
You got to tell the truth about that.
Yeah, sort of. You're just kind of avoiding it. So you're still eating sweets, right?
Yeah, but not a whole lot. I mean, some. I try to keep it out in the garage so I don't get it as much.
I'll tell you how you can stop it. I mean, cold.
Stop buying it.
You read my mind.
Common sense.
Yeah, just don't buy it.
I know.
Don't go through that.
How to wean yourself also. Get yourself some Gymnema capsules. Open it. Just put a few grains of the powder on your tongue. You will not be able to taste anything sweet for 3 to 4 hours. Do that 2 or 3 times a day, and it'll help you lose your craving for sugar.
Yeah. Is it called Gymnema with a J?
Gymnema. Gymnema.
Okay, well, I'll listen to the podcast again. Get the spelling.
You might need to. I'm teasing now. I'm teasing. Yeah. As I said, if you suck the whole capsule, it'll be great.
Just a few grains.
I would only use a few grains. That's all it takes to block your taste of sugar.
So, Gene, really, do your best to get off the sweets. It's just flat out no good.
I understand, but I do eat all my vegetables and fruits, so,
There you go.
I eat plenty of those, so I eat both. Okay,
Gene,
thank y'all.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for calling. Dad. And we look forward to your next call to hear how you've done kicking the sugar habit.
Well,
yeah. So let's do it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Kyle in Montana, welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen. I was just going to chime in on the over easy eggs, Dr. Shealy. That's just the way I love mine, and I always have since I was a little bitty kid.
That's probably just as good. The problem for me is if I over easy, that I don't know how quickly to take them out. But when they're over easy, the yolk is still liquid, and that's good.
Yeah, right. I was going to chime in on the chickens. We tend to want to have as small a chicken as possible and lay as large of an egg as possible. And the one we've landed on is kind of a hybrid. It's called a Red Star. But I will say this. I've known friends of mine that lived way in northern Alaska, and where it gets 50 below zero, and this is no joke. And they had the Barred Rock chickens, like Gene was talking about, at 50 below zero. And when it would get wintertime, of course, they stopped laying, but they would take about 2 feet of straw and fill up the bottom of the chicken coop. And those chickens would burrow down into that at 50 below zero and survive without heat, because these people lived off the grid completely, and they heated their house with wood and had oil lamps. So they're extremely hardy. What we try to do is get chickens, though, that it's kind of the cross between, in the warmer climates, I agree with you very much. The Rhode Island Red is the standby, and it doesn't get that cold there and stay cold for super long times. They are a great breed to sit on eggs, and hatch. The other one that is even better, that still has an incredible hatching instinct, if you're going to try to have eggs, have your own eggs and your own chicks, hatched from them, is the Buff Orpington. They are excellent chickens. We keep a couple of them, even though we run the Red Star for egg production, because they lay like crazy for about 2 years. Real heavy. I mean, even through the winter. But the ones that really want to nest and hatch eggs are the Buff Orpingtons. We keep a a couple of them for that reason. But
Kyle,
go ahead.
How do different breeds of chickens get along? Because we had some Barred Rock and we had some Cinnamon Queens, and they knew who they were and they would hang out together, but they didn't really like each other that much. Do you find the same thing?
Really?
Yeah.
We have never had that problem, Vince. I've got a few Black Star that we got this year and Red Star, and then we've got the Buff Orpington, and I have they sent us when we ordered chickens a great big Barred Rock male and a Black Star male roosters, and we don't have any trouble with that at all. I haven't had any trouble with that.
Okay.
That's strange. In fact, that's the first time I've ever even heard of that.
Have you ever had the chickens not getting along with each other?
I have not. I've had white chickens and red chickens getting along well.
Maybe it's a political thing. Maybe.
Yeah, I think you got some gay chickens there, and nobody wants to be around them there, man. Yeah, now the roosters are another story. You can have the same breed of rooster, and they're gonna fight for dominance no matter what. But anyway, I don't know. You get those transgender chickens, and nobody wants to be around them.
I've been saying, don't feed the homos.
Yeah.
Soon,
hey, on another quick note, Vince, I've got to head out of here, but I wanted to, on another quick note for everybody, a friend of mine picked up a little Kel-Tec sub 2000 9mm, takes Glock mags, 9mm semi-automatic rifle, and I am telling you, what a sweet gun. I've never shot one before, but I mean, we had fun. And it did not jam fast as we could pull the trigger. It's not super accurate, but the thing only weighs like 4.5 pounds. It's really amazing.
Here's what I found.
To throw out there in case you need to shoot any gay chickens, that'll really work well.
I went to a show with our son over the weekend, an RK show in Lebanon, Missouri. I could not believe how low the prices of new handguns has fallen. I can't believe how low they are compared to several years ago. Now, the price of the older used guns, the quality, the Winchesters and so forth, they're still commanding higher prices. But new guns, I couldn't believe how inexpensive new handguns are. Not that I wanted one, but that's what I said. Have you seen the same thing?
This is not a handgun. This is actually a little rifle. But,
I understand. But when I'm talking about handguns, have you noticed the price of new equipment, factory fresh, is less expensive than you would expect? That's what I'm saying.
Well, it is, and it's kind of blowing my mind that you buy Glocks and Springfield Armories and some of those, the 1911s are holding their value really well.
Right.
I mean, for used, you're paying almost as much as what they cost brand new.
Right, or more, in some cases, or more.
Right. Yep.
Kyle, thanks so much for being with us. Georgia, New Hampshire, you're up next. We'll be right back with Dr. Norm Shealy. George will be with you in just a second. Dr. Shealy, I got a call this morning from a guy who's 60 years old, and he said all of a sudden he got hot. He's in great health. Otherwise, he got hot, he got dizzy, and he fell down. And here's a guy who has great balance, hasn't had any problems. His health has been extraordinary. Any thoughts on what that might have been? And today he's okay. So it happened like a day ago.
Well, I would say he needs a very careful evaluation of his metabolic profile and his hemoglobin A1C.
Okay, hemoglobin A1C.
Yeah.
Any thoughts of what this might be?
I'm sorry?
Any thoughts of what this might be?
No. I would want to look at thyroid function and possible prediabetes, but it does need a medical evaluation.
Okay. George in New Hampshire, welcome. You're on with Dr. Shealy.
Hi, Cousin Ben, and hello,
Hey.
Dr. Shealy. I have a very important question to ask you before we get into it. Are you blessed? I had to say that. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
Every day of my life.
To too many people are blissfully unaware, though, I guess, right? Ignorance is
not blissful.
Yeah. I just wanted to throw out two things quick. If you store olive oil, and if you're going to buy it, get the cold-pressed olive oil because it's a way of extracting the oils from the olives that doesn't destroy the nutrients in the actual olives.
Yeah.
And what I found worked good, and I'm sure Vincent can concur, is I can't speak for you, Dr. Shealy, but having come from my mother's side, an Italian childhood, they would get the big cans, gallon cans of olive oil. And I happened to have tucked one way away in a corner in a metal cabinet, and it was supposed to best be used by 2014. Well, I found it last year. And I used it, and I found because it was kept cool and dry environment, it was like, whatever it was like 5 years later out of date. There was no rancidity. It hadn't gone bad, nothing. And I just wanted to put that out there, too, that I'm noticing that with many products, even if it's 6 months before the expiration date, it's going bad sooner rather than later. And one other thing I'd like to just throw out is penicillin. I got it from a fairly reliable source that a lot of it's being made in India now, and I've heard there's complications in terms of a lot of side effects and makes them feel sick to their stomachs. And they said that there's a firm in Romania that's making, and in Romania they have that's domestically, I don't think they make penicillin here anymore. Is that correct, Dr. Shealy?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was made in upstate New York, and then they transferred the operation over to China. But he said when he
well, they need to go bankrupt, in my opinion. Every business that put its business in China, it's making in China, should go bankrupt immediately.
Well, I agree with you. It's like a monster Hong Kong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I said, we've been sold out and sold down the river, and we're on a train that's on a quiet. Vincent, what do you think about that with the olive oil, though? Just aside.
Well, here's what I found. My grandmother used to get it in those cans that you're talking about, and she would open them with a can opener and then decant them into glass containers. And that's what I remember. I remember salads with extra virgin olive oil, a little bit of salt, a little bit of vinegar, and it was just as good as it gets. And that's what I remember. And if there was any cooking to be done, it was done with olive oil. It wasn't done with these other synthetic substitutes. It wasn't done with that. It was done with olive oil. And we've carried on that tradition. But here's what I found. I found that we have bought extra virgin cold pressed olive oil at Sam's Club for years. And it comes in a plastic container. And I make sure that the cap is screwed on really tightly. And I've kept them cold and dark for years, and they do not go rancid. That's been my experience so far. Now, I can't say it's going to continue because maybe manufacturing techniques are changing. But as far as I'm concerned, it's lasted way longer than they say it will. But the temperature that we keep it is cool, and it's dark, and it doesn't get moved until we use it. So that's my experience. So I believe you're absolutely right. And I wish we could buy it in cans, but I don't see it anywhere around here in cans.
Yeah, I think the further away you get from a coast, the harder it is to find certain items like from either Italy or wherever. But nowadays I notice that the olive oil is a combination from Greece, Tunisia, Italy, and probably 3 or 4 other nations. So
That's right. That's right. It's very difficult to find just Italian olive oil at extra virgin cold press.
Well, they also say that I heard this one time that the stuff they use in Italy, in comparison to what we use here, the stuff we use here is like water.
It was much, much stronger as I remember it, and the American palate probably doesn't like the very strong, extra virgin olive oil. And I believe you're absolutely right. Dr. Shealy, your thoughts?
I agree. Extra olive is the best at cold press. And
it's almost impossible to find it right just from Italy. And there was an olive blight that killed 500-year-old olive trees, 300-year-old olive trees, as I remember. And it's going to take a long time to replace them. George, thanks so much for being with us.
Right.
Dr. Shealy.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We'll see you next week.